Hello, this is the demo for the Redox OS service monitor we made this spring. We'll start by looking at our iteration plan for this semester's work. This outlines the features we plan to build and has only had minimal changes since January. In the first sprint, we implemented the ability to get a service's PID and start or stop that service. In the second sprint, we implemented the ability for the service monitor to read different data points from a service and clear a service's internal statistics. In the third sprint, we implemented registry management and service timeout recovery. In the fourth sprint, we added documentation for help in the command line interface and improved both messages and service monitor logging. In the fifth and final sprint, we created a graphical interface as an alternative to the command line for some use cases. In just a moment, we will demonstrate these features by sprint, but first, we also identified two stretch goals for the semester. The first was the automatic restart and recovery of services, which we were able to start experimenting with, as mentioned before. The second was starting services based on a dependency tree. And while we did not get a chance to start on that, there is a field in the registry to make future implementation of this feature easier. To begin the implementation phase of the project, we added some basic control functionality through the services program, which acts as the service monitor's command line interface. The list subcommand can also be used to see some basic information on each running service. You can use the stop and start subcommands with the name of a service to stop or start that service. In Sprint 2, we added more stats to services for the service monitor to track. We can view this data with the info subcommand, followed by the name of the service we'd like to inspect. The statistics stored by a service can also be cleared using the clear subcommand. This resets the live statistics of a service, but does not affect the totals tracked by the service monitor.
In Sprint 3, we introduced the registry, which manages the startup configuration of each service managed by the service monitor. We can view the existing service's registry entry using the registry view subcommand. This will report the service's type, its launch arguments, whether its configuration is set as manual override, what services it depends on, and the path to the service's scheme. We can edit an existing service's registry entry using the registry edit subcommand. Note that for this to work, you must specify all the required arguments in order, first beginning with the service name, then a string containing a bracketed list of CLI arguments, with each argument itself being a string, followed by a bracketed list of dependencies with the same formatting as the arguments list, followed by the scheme path. The --old flag can be provided to indicate that the service is an old-style daemon. Its emission denotes that the service is a normal service. We can see the changes we made reflected when we view the entry again. Note that there is currently a known issue where having nothing in the brackets does not lead to the args or dependencies being empty. The current workaround is to provide an empty string. We can remove a registered service from the registry using the registry remove subcommand. Notice that if the service is currently running, the service will be unregistered, but the already running service will persist until it is stopped. After this, the service will be fully removed from the service monitor. A removed service cannot be restarted once stopped. We can add a service to the registry using the registry add subcommand. Like the edit subcommand, this requires that all required arguments are provided in order. The arguments required are the same as that of the edit subcommand. Like the edit subcommand, the --old flag can be provided to indicate that the service is an old-style daemon. Its emission denotes that the service is a normal service. Additionally, the --override flag can be provided to indicate that the service monitor should not attempt to override or correct the fields in the registry. This updates the manual override property of the service entry. As of version 1.0, this property has no effect, as the service monitor does not presently change service entries outside of the use of the registry edit, remove, and add subcommands.
To demonstrate the service timeout recovery feature, we've added some code to trigger an infinite loop in GTRAN2. We'll run the test by trying to start GTRAN2 while it's already running. In the system log, we see that at first, it is possible to read some random data from GTRAN2 before the timeout is triggered. Then, when attempting to write a new seed, the operation times out. The service is restarted and the write is completed. This sequence is then repeated for reading, and we can see another recovery and successful read at the end. Here's the code for the timeout test. You'll see that the string timeout is written to GTRAN2 to trigger the timeout. In the right implementation for GTRAN2's scheme, this sets a Boolean that causes an infinite loop in both the read and write methods.
In Sprint 4, we added a dedicated help page to every command. For the main services command, this can be accessed via services-help. For subcommands, this can show useful information on relevant arguments or flags. This is accessible through adding --help or -h to the end of any command. The registry subcommand also has its own help page, which shows the commands for adding, editing, removing, or viewing registry entries. For a command like editing the registry, the help page can show all the arguments and options available, as well as what they're for. Every command also has error outputs, whether it's adding a service that already exists to the registry, stopping a service that's already stopped, or starting a service that just doesn't exist.
And finally, for Sprint 5, we focused on creating our GUI. To launch it, you can run the command services-GUI. From the GUI, you can easily stop and start services. The screen will automatically refresh, so you can see the services status change when you do this. You can also sort the services and their info by whichever category you want. If you click on the Info tab, you'll see more detailed information for each service. This is basically the output of the CLI info command, but it's much more organized and easy to read this way. You can also view the system log from the GUI. It'll open in Redox's default text editor. This allows the user to save the file if they want. And finally, we have a help screen with some basic instructions on how to use the GUI.